and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. And now we're going to head into a milestone episode number 50, right here at the Bigfoots of America podcast show. I'm your host, Bryan Sawyer, coming at you. And my guests today, what can I say about them? Well, I'll tell you one thing. They keep me laughing constantly. I've never met a better group of guys, always keeping me laughing. I'm always learning something from them. They've been involved in the Bigfoot whole phenomenon thing much longer than I have. And really, that's what this episode is about, a milestone episode to get them all together. I've had them individually in their own episodes, so check those out as well. But this is the first time I've had them all together. And so I'm so excited to bring them on board. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring them on board one at a time, and we're going to let them introduce themselves as members of the NCI team. All right, we're going to go ahead and we will bring on co-founder George Lunsford first.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, George, good to see you. Glad to have you back, my man. You know, I've been thinking of this milestone episode for quite some time, and to get all you guys together, we do an NCI show on the Channel 12 TV network on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We've had so much wonderful input, information, knowledge. I mean, when we get together, you never know what's going to happen. But with that said,
that's the
right?
key. We never know. Brother, it is an honor to be here. You're an awesome individual. We're so glad to have you on the team. I just can't say enough about it.
Well, I appreciate it. It was the first interview I was with you guys, and I'm like, okay, there's some kind of magic going on with this group. You know, I've been on a lot of podcast shows, and you talk to people and you meet people, but something just clicked with you guys, and I'm like, wow, I got to dig deeper. I got to get to know these guys more, and I appreciate you taking me on as a team member. But with that said, we're here now to talk about you, George. Go ahead, introduce yourself to the folks at home, however you want to introduce yourself.
I'm George Lunsford. I'm a researcher, I'm an investigator, and I'm an author. I write books. I've got 3 on the market right now. I have another one supposed to be coming out this month. I'm not really sure because, well, honestly, my publishers is dragging their feet. So that being said, hey, I'm part of a fantastic group. These guys are awesome. They educate me every day. I've been studying Bigfoot since in the 1970s. And honestly, I don't know nothing. We learn so much every time we go out. It's scary. It really is.
Without a doubt. Here's one of your books, Monsters of the World, your reference guide. I'm always looking. It's just bent all up. That's how much I'm digging into this thing.
Well, brother, I appreciate that.
Definitely. All right, we're going to go ahead. We'll bring on, let's see, the other co-founding member, Robert Effler. Come on in, Robert.
There he is.
Oh, there it is, man. There it is.
Well, I'm not allowed to touch mine. Mine's in there on the shelf, so I'm not allowed to mess with them.
That's awesome.
We got another pop, to be honest.
Nice. There you go.
Thank you,
Which
brother.
one's that, Robert? That's one of George's other books. What do you got there?
That is Legends, Myths, Monsters, and Ghosts, the North American edition. And you can find George Lunsford's books on Amazon.com.
Awesome. And then here's the USA edition. And then George, what else you got coming? The Europe edition?
The Europe edition, yes, sir. You guys are way too kind to
Fantastic.
me.
Oh,
Hey, you're a brother from another mother, and I love everlasting one of you to death. You
Amen.
guys, honestly, are the best group of investigators that I've ever been a part of. And to be honest, without a shadow of a doubt, we are beyond brothers. We are extreme family, and we keep one another going. And
That's right.
Brian, you are the absolute cherry on top of the ice cream sundae, brother.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I know just from my history that it really is all about team. It's about being a part of a team, that no man is an island, because sooner or later you're going to need somebody in it anyway. So why not find the right group of people to hang with? And you guys are definitely the right group. All right, with that said, we're going to go ahead and bring in another member. Now, folks at home, all these guys been together, and they kind of took me in. I was like that stray puppy that couldn't find a place, and they're like, well, all right, if you got no place else to go, I guess you can come in and keep warm.
Well, the reason why we kept you, since you're the new puppy, is on account you figured out not to pee on the porch.
All right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go bring in. I'm still laughing. So here we go. Tim Dills.
He's getting his fixings.
Yeah. Oh no.
Sorry about that, guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We got yeah. Let me tell the folks at home. I spent the night at 2 nights at Tim Dills' house, met all these guys down at the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival. I'm a Yankee through and through. Yeah, my mother's from Virginia, grandpa from Tennessee, all that kind of stuff. So I'd come down in the summertime when I was little, and I remember one of my great uncles. He pulled off an apple off of a tree, no, off the ground. He picked it up off the ground and just bit right into it. Old farmer. He owned all the land in this holler between two mountain peaks, and I could not believe it that this man just picked up an apple off the ground and didn't look at it, didn't inspect it for worms, just took a big bite of it. And that was my first initiation to, wow, what it's like to be in the South. Good to have you on, Tim. Thanks so much. We're going to go ahead. We'll bring Jerry in, and then I forgot to have you guys introduce yourselves individually. But let's go ahead and bring Jerry Millward Jr. in so he's not waiting too long. Hey, Jerry.
Boom.
What's up, brother?
Oh, man, what's going on? It's just good to be with all you guys, hanging out, talking. We're going to get in some good stuff tonight. We're going to dig a little bit deep tonight. But hey, Robert, did you already introduce yourself? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but for those who don't know who I am, my name's Robert Effler. I'm co-founder shoot. Here I go, going backwards again. Co-founder of North Carolina Investigates. We've been together since 2023. Met George Lunsford. We formed NCI, and we brought in Tim and Jerry, and we later on brought in Bryan Sawyer. I couldn't ask for nothing any better. I'm absolutely tickled to death.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. I get a little bit crazy sometimes, I pray a lot, and so I'm like, all right, I understand my biblical narrative, but I need to sometimes tone that back. We want to always kind of stick to the truth of each individual's encounters. So, hey, Tim Dills, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself next?
Okay, my name is Tim Dills, and I am from the western, probably the farthest west in North Carolina of all of us. I got into doing this in 2008 when I had my first encounter, and I've been doing it ever since. And these guys I call it lucky. They probably call it a bad choice, but I was lucky enough for them to ask me to be
You're that piece of toilet paper that just keeps sticking to the bottom of their shoe.
that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim. Hey, Jerry Millwood, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Jerry Millwood from the foothills of Western North Carolina, and I've been into serious Sasquatch investigation and shoulder deep since about August of 2017. But it's something I've always been interested in. And tonight I'm going to tell y'all something about me you didn't know. I am an artist. I've never
Okay.
that, but let me tell you what my specialty is. I'm an artist because I draw flies.
Oh, man. I'm just happy I didn't get broadsided by that one like I usually do. Like get all deep in my head, like, oh, that's interesting. He draws flies. Boy, so he must have a collection of pictures of flies on his wall. And then finally, good stuff, Jerry. Good stuff.
Well,
Hey,
I can
guys.
figure out why he always draws flies. Because see, when Jerry was 4, his mama and daddy didn't have too awful much money, so his mama had to read to him come supper time, read the recipe. His brother was hard of hearing and darn near starved to death.
It's a true story. True story.
Awesome. All right, guys. It's about to be a free-for-all, but I've got one thing I want to talk about to kind of kick this thing off. All right. So now we all know, folks at home who listen to me, they know how I connect Bigfoot to the biblical narrative. And basically it just comes down to my understanding, or really my fear or concern, and I felt like God kind of leveled me off a week or two ago where, hey, I've allowed these things to exist and I can use them however I want to use them, just like I used the great fish to swallow Jonah. So I've allowed them to exist, and I'll use them however I choose to use them. And that really kind of helped settle me down. But I just heard now this is a story. I've got David Pilatus's book, Pilatus, The Bigfoot, Wild Men, and Giants. And this is one of the books that got me started on the tangible evidence of Bigfoot. And so you couple that with George Lunsford's books, and we've got just a whole bunch of great information. But now I just heard, now, George, I think you've touched on this before. I just heard out of David Pilates' mouth, a story of how Indians were inside their camp, and there was an old rancher, and he kept his cattle up on the mountain, so to speak. And then one day, he'd hang out with the Indians every so often. But one day he saw an Indian carrying a plate of meat up to these cliffs. And so the rancher was like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, well, kind of none of your business. And so he's like, well, I'm friends with the elder. I'll go ask the elder. So he went and asked the elder. And the elder said, well, all right, I'll show you. He said, there are, and I'm paraphrasing, there are some visitors who look a little bit like us, but they are covered in hair. And every so often, what happens is, and I'm going to try to get this right, there is a flaming moon that comes down and hovers over the land. And anywhere between, I think it was 1 and 3 of these hairy men jump out, and they'll head off towards the cliff. And then these other beings will jump out and kind of wave goodbye, get back into the flaming moon, and take off. So when that happens, these Native Americans, this tribe, would bring plates of meat to these hairy men or hairy individuals on the cliffs. So right there is a story about these particular Sasquatch maybe having an alien connection. So I'm kicking this whole conversation off. We'll go around the horn. Tim, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts, my brother?
Well, um, I'll be honest with you, and this is how I look at it. I'm very open minded to things. I'm not closed minded at all. If something happens, it happens. Some of this stuff, I think I'd have to see it happen before I could say 100%. Just like the night that me and you and Robin and your girlfriend was at Scaly Mountain.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the
Laura?
first. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen the glowing eyes. And people would ask me about them, and I'd say, "Well, I don't know because I can't talk about something that I don't know about." So I keep it. I'm open to for whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to say it didn't happen or it did. It's just one of them things. I try not to run my mouth unless I know what I'm talking about. And now
Gotcha.
I can say that I saw the eyes glowing without a light on them. I seen it through the woods. I mean, I put my headlight on the eyes, it would turn its head or close its eyes or whatever it was doing. So, as intelligent as these creatures are, I wouldn't put anything past it. But I can't say 100% because I wasn't there. So, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit. And the more you get into this, the more that that you have to open your mind. You can't be closed minded and try to figure these creatures out because if you are, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yep.
There's I can't say that they're more than flesh and blood, but I can say that they're the most intelligent animal I've ever went up against. Deer, hogs, bear, that ain't no problem to outsmart them. But since 2008 to 25, that's 17 years, and I'm still trying to outsmart them, and it ain't
Mm.
worked yet. So I could actually see where they could be from somewhere else, and because they're very intelligent, but I can't say that it did or didn't happen because I wasn't there.
Awesome. Good stuff. When I heard that, like when you said the self-illuminating blue eyes, I have some other eyewitnesses, married couple Kim and John, when they had their encounter, they saw a couple of Bigfoot and they had their illuminating eyes, which almost look like flashlights coming out of their, and when they turned their heads, it was just beams of light coming out. Well, let's go to Jerry Millward Jr. next. Boy, it's just a big piece of pie to bite off, Jerry. What do you think when you hear something like that?
Well, just a couple of years ago, I would have said absolutely not. We got a flesh and blood animal that was created, and it's just another creature on this earth. But now, all the water that's gone under the bridge, things that I've experienced, things that people have told me about, things I've learned from you guys, things I've learned from listening to documentaries and reading books. Especially, I'm going to tell you, the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch did a lot to make me open my mind up and get rid of the box and say, you know what? Through all this stuff, the only thing I can tell you for sure is we have so little knowledge that
Good stuff.
there's so many. I mean, there's so many possibilities. We know there's a heavy duty connection between cryptids and things that we put in the supernatural realm or the paranormal realm. The lights, the orbs, the graveyards, the places where people tend to see ghosts a lot of times, or black-eyed children or whatever, are places where you also have a lot of cryptids. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of credible witnesses out there who, as they tell about their encounters, and I like the way that Tim put that he, or actually, I think Boom Boom, you said it, but you give each eyewitness their own space to talk about what they experienced. And I really like eyewitness testimony. Anecdotal evidence is, people say, oh, that's the weakest form of evidence, and I disagree. Anecdotal evidence is a strong form of evidence, and anecdotal evidence is what starts off almost virtually every single investigation. So, having said all of that, it wasn't surprise me that tomorrow if somebody come forward and said, well, we've proven we've got pictures or video of Sasquatches or dogmen or whatever boarding a spacecraft. I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
Mm. Good stuff. Good stuff. You know, it's funny because even let's talk about the self-illuminating eyes again. Let's think about dragons. There are ancient tales of actual fire-breathing dragons. Now, we don't see that anywhere in the animal world today, I don't think. But if there was that capability, there seemed to be maybe even a possible movement to wipe dragons out because they were such a threat, whether it be to your flock, whether it be to your family, and that's where the old stories of the knight in shining armor going out and slaying the dragon. I mean, if you read that story about Marco Polo, what he describes of this giant creature that, had that steam or that flame coming out of its mouth and its big tail it was dragging. It sounds more like a T-Rex than it does a crocodile. But let's get back to the Bigfoot coming out of the UFO, the David Pilates story. Robert Glenn Effler, what do you think, sir?
I've always been the oddball in the bunch. I always look at everything on at a different angle than most people do. I'm kind of like Jerry in a way. At one point in time, flesh and blood was the only way to go. Listening to other people's encounters, I'm starting to lean, a little bit that the door of possibilities is halfway open. Nobody's really and truly kicked it completely open in order to show proof without beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm still, and settles, right here deep in my heart on the flesh and blood end of the deal. I'm not going to sit here and rule out wholeheartedly that it's not possible.
Okay.
Anything on the planet is possible. Everything. I've been reading other historical cases, been watching other documentaries and everything else, and I've come to the conclusion that everything we've been taught in school from the first grade's been an out and out black lie. You go to lost civilizations, you go to it's just like the word dinosaur wasn't even invented till when was it, Jerry? The late 1800s or early 1900s, somewhere around in there.
1920s, somewhere in that area.
Which leads me to believe that the so-called dinosaurs that we all grew up with, learning about in school, wasn't dinosaurs at all. They were all dragons. So, as far as the alien spaceship goes, I'm kind of like Tim on this one. If I see it and wholeheartedly and actually witness this happening, I'll be one of the first ones to go, well, that just shot my theory all the way around and shot it. I was totally wrong about the whole 9 yards, but I mean,
Yep.
I'm still a flesh and blood kind of guy, but like I said, the door is partially open for the other. I'm not going to dispute it. I'm not going to, throw that out and say, you don't need to be listening to that stuff. I guess the
Right.
bottom line, I have to see it for myself. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not possible. I've just got to see it, and it's just like Dogman. I've seen evidence of what is left behind with the marks on the trees, footprints in the ground, what we've casted. But as far as actually seeing the creature itself, he's on my bucket list. That is what I want to see is a Dogman. I've seen Bigfoot. We've seen the creepy crawlers on film that we didn't know were there.
Mm.
So, door of possibility is open. I'm not going to dispute it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I do prefer the evidence. There's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
That last footprint I got, it really satisfies the soul to get physical evidence. So, with that said, all right, guys, here comes another curveball before we talk to George Lunsford. Um, all right, you guys ready for this? You know my mind speak encounter coming out of the back of the house.
Let's
That changed my paradigm. The fairy sighting right in front of my face inside my house changed my paradigm. I'm at work. Y'all know I work midnights, and I had to be close to midnight, and I get a frantic call from my son last night. Good boy. I gotta be honest, folks. I could not have asked for two better boys. Even if they agree with me, they got the fear of the Lord in them in the sense of respecting me. But when my youngest son, who is more of a straight lace, my older one will rip on me here and there, but my younger one, he's more of that Spock type, logical type guy. He calls me frantic and he's like, Dad, I just heard a female voice just outside of my window. Um, it said, You. He said it was a woman through and through. It almost sounded like it was in the room. And he says, I don't understand it. He said, I've heard everything you've talked about. And he said, now I've heard it from myself because he said, I looked out the windows, got a hold of my girlfriend. She called as well. I got home this morning. I scoured the area. I made sure it wasn't even my neighbors, maybe echoing. The only thing I'm not saying it was a Sasquatch, but there is an interesting correlation here. Now, but I told you guys, I've got cameras all around my house, man. You cannot get close to my house. You can't get near it. You can't get inside it. You're going to be on camera. And so the only thing that was on camera was I've told you guys before, I have deer at my house, and the whole herd of deer was moving through. The only thing I can think of is, well, maybe that was a deer. Now, well, I said, well, son, maybe it was a deer. And he said, Dad, no. And he never gets kind of emotionally,
Mhm.
raised up. And he's like, Dad, I'm telling you, it was a female. It was a woman. It was something. And and I believe she was talking to me. He was in his room, and he's a gamer, so he'll be in his room. But then sometimes he'll take his headphones off, and he'll just be sitting there watching the other. He's on a whole team, they play the Chinese, they play everywhere. So I think he might have gotten eliminated. He was sitting there, and then he heard it. He said it was almost as it was inside my room, but I knew it was just outside, kind of in between my two windows, which is at the corner of the house. Now, with my mind Rolodexing, I all of a sudden a light bulb went off. I had been to the petroglyphs. I have an eyewitness. I was with two other people, and one of the other people was with me, and something very similar was said right in front of us. I even reached out to see if anything was there. I had my thermal on. We're in the pitch darkness of a particular area by me where I have found multiple footprints. It's where I found the last footprint, you guys, that I showed you. I'll pull that up in a second. But it was this, when my son described it, it was the same type of voice. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. I have gifted these Sasquatch on multiple occasions. They have returned the gift with the Y sticks and the footprint, so to speak. It's like I'll bring them food and then I'll get like a footprint, or I'll get a Y stick. So that is part of the crazy interdimensional side. If I go out there and I don't find any footprints, I don't find any evidence, but my son swears up and down he heard something, that blows my mind. So I'm setting all that up, and we're going to jump right to George Lunsford right now because I know just meeting me, George, I have shaken your world. So you can talk about that if you want, but let's talk about the Bigfoot coming out of the spacecraft and some of your thoughts on all of what I just said and what David Pilati said.
Okay. Well, I don't doubt that they did. I mean, I have no reason to doubt it. I have a very open mind when it comes to Bigfoot, as everyone knows. I used to believe that they were descendants of the giants. I still do to a degree. That they were some of them I do believe were still descendants of the giants, but I believe there's more than one kind of Bigfoot here. I believe we have a mixture of Bigfoot, whether it be uh, from another parallel world, whether it be coming through the portals, whether it be outer space or what. I think there's different kinds here. That's why we're getting all these different sightings. That's why we're getting all these different reports, and they're coming here for a reason. The question is, what is that reason?
Mm.
I mean, they're creatures that are far above us because we can't mind speak. A lot of people has a hard time just looking at you and talking to you. Matter of fact, speaking to your mind from a mile away. And we know that they've done that because we've had reports of it over and over again. So, as far as what that were your son, I think they realized he's your son. And when the female realized it, before she caught herself, she said you through a mind speak, and she wasn't within the area. She was probably 50 yards away from your house, and you don't have cameras out there. And she
Interesting.
realized that she was picking him up inside your house, and they caught her by surprise.
Good stuff.
That's my thought on that. But it's the creatures themselves. No, we don't know. I do have a very open mind, and they've been around forever. They've been around ever. There's a period between the time the Indians supposedly wiped out the giants in North America and they appeared. There's a period of time there, which that indicates to me that if they are from outer space, they were dropped off long before humans got here.
Mm.
And that period of time seems to me like a very crucial part that everybody's overlooking. But I really don't know. I wasn't there. I can't attest to what he was told or what he's seen. So yeah, I'm open for it. I would have no problem, like Jerry said, watching one walk off of an aircraft.
Awesome. I just want to insert real quick.
Awesome.
This is the footprint of the Sasquatch that I believe visited the house last night that I've had so much interaction with. I lean female due to the tone of the voice that both him and I heard. What piqued my interest is that snowstorm, George. You were in Chicago. That snowstorm ripped through here. It's been nothing but an ice rink out here. So I'm wondering that if it covered up all the food, I have found baby footprints out there as well, baby Squatch footprints. And so I'm like, I agree exactly with what you said. And I'm also going to go out there because I wonder if I think I might know where they might be standing. Well, I have two locations where they could be standing at, and they stay hidden. Good stuff, George. Good stuff. I got an echo here. It's probably me. I got my double. Yeah, hold on a second. Sorry about that, guys. But George,
good,
so yeah, that's a great story from David Pilates. And to me, it opens up our point of view. And with my fairy sighting, I'm like, you know what? I'm shutting up from now on. Yes, it could be this, it could be that. What are your thoughts on the David Pilates, the story he told?
I think he's pretty credible on a lot of his stuff. I've heard about him. I have never heard anything bad. I've only heard good things about him. So until I hear something different, I would take his story as word.
Fantastic. What it reminded me of, and let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. There she is. So you guys know. So I've got 3 locations by me just for everybody at home and to refresh you guys. And I've already found the pictures, so that's good news. So let me see if I can get this. Yeah, this is going to work. So the David Pilates story said what was it, a fiery moon or something?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There you go.
So this is an orb. I'm not sure what size. I have to talk again with the people. But they say whenever they have orbs, they have Bigfoot. And I've been to that property and I've heard the samurai chatter myself. I have found the footprints myself. It's not too far. It's a separate location. So I believe these are two separate clans along the Black River here in the thumb of Michigan. But that is a fiery type moon coming down, even like a sun coming down. So, have you guys heard of the correlation between, and whoever wants to speak up, between orbs and Bigfoot as well?
Mhm.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I just saying, yeah, I've heard quite a bit about it. And one thing about up where my research area is on a place called Boar Tree, they was Bigfoot wasn't even in there. I'd been hunting in there for years, and there was no sign of them whatsoever. And after I called it a light, but then after talking to people like Greg Ogles and stuff like that, more than likely what I saw was an orb. But I just thought it was a light. But after I saw that, then the Bigfoot signs started showing up. The broke trees, stuff in my trail going up to where I hunt at, and a quick decline in pig population. In 1 year, it went from 23 full grown hogs. Now, I'm not talking about the smaller ones. This is hogs that's at least 200 pounds. 23 of them down to 3 in a year's time, plus all the little ones was gone. And the only difference was I started finding Bigfoot sign, and I never found that sign until after I saw that light. So I would say that it to me it goes together. So
Yeah, I've heard of one account, and I can't remember where it was. It was a few months ago, where a guy actually saw what he believed to be a Native American face in the center of an orb. First, they saw he was with his dad and his son, so you got three generations, and they were looking out their tent window, and they saw two large Sasquatch coming in. And then when the Sasquatch realized they were walking up a tent, they turned around and walked away. And then a few minutes later, there was a light, and then this orb came in, and the grandfather said he looked directly into the orb and saw the face of an older Native American type individual. So, yeah, I'm even blowing my mind. I'm like, Bryan, what are you talking about right now? So it even blows our mind because I think our natural instincts and I'm not saying anybody was out there and purposely lying. Now, maybe the government, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about everyday folk like ourselves. The only way I think we can logically process it is thinking that it's just Gigantopithecus, some kind of primitive animal or something that we just missed along the way. When we know the government, though, on the other hand, knows a lot more.
True. Now, Jerry had an interesting situation with orbs and a Bigfoot.
Yeah, a couple. Um,
Yeah.
Two of the significant experiences that we've had were involved campouts, and anytime my cousin and his crew, we've got that little crew that likes to come about once a year and camp out. Each time that we had significant experiences, there was the orbs, or if some people are more comfortable, they can call them lights. But the first time when we had the peekaboo incident, where through thermal for at least 10 minutes, we observed a creature just looking at us from behind the tree, would poke its head out and do it again. That night, we spotted a number of orbs, and then on up in the morning, about 3 or 3:30 a.m., my cousin's wife woke everybody up, and we were surrounded pretty much on all sides. You could hear the walking in the woods. And she didn't go, her and her son were kind of unsettled, and they didn't sleep the rest of the night. but they didn't have the roof skirt on the top of the tent. So as she said, she laid there watching the sky. She could see these orbs or these lights all night. And the second time, same group essentially, but we were traversing a ridge, and we were being shadowed off to our left about 40 yards. And me and my cousin's wife, the same person I just spoke of, up in the tree, spotted a red and a green orbs kind of dancing with each other. That was on the opposite of where the creature was shadowing us on the other side. And I got that on video, got a good video of that, of those orbs. And they were just, I don't know, just that's my best description, is that they were dancing. And we've had other occasions where we've seen orbs, photographed them, different colored orbs. And I'm trying to remember the night that I made the video of what I call the white booger video. If I'm not mistaken,
video.
I think there were some orbs involved in that. I've got by now, and I know y'all can relate with me, you've got so much stuff in your head from what we've experienced, what we've talked to witnesses about. Sometimes you get them jumbled up, but I'm pretty sure that particular night involved some orbs either prior to or after videoing the white booger. It's happened a lot. The orbs have not necessarily always been paired with a sighting or vocalization, but they're always kind of present around here, just like the creatures are always kind of present. You never know when they're going to reveal themselves, but sometimes they reveal themselves together.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm thinking of 4 locations right now. So I've got the 3 by me, and then there's a 4th not too far away, but only 1 location has the orbs. So then when like George talks about there's a mixture of Bigfoot. So logically, it says, and like I always say, so many different types of insects, that there are different types of these creatures with different types of abilities, possibly. Some more human, some more animalistic, maybe some more alien. I still want to get one of my eyewitnesses, Dawn Ellis, who said her Bigfoot, looked like a Bigfoot, except it had the alien gray eyes. And then, I got to dig this up, but I almost forgot. We've got one here in Michigan, a Sasquatch with horns. Have you guys heard of that before? The horned Sasquatches.
Yes. Sheep squatch.
I'm writing this down. Go ahead, George.
Well, sheep squatch, it looks like it's got like a goat head with the big round horns on top. We've all talked about that actually here in North Carolina, and Tim actually has a report not far from his area about one, and it's usually related to some kind of cult activity.
Gosh, Tim, you want to elaborate more? That's crazy.
Yeah, I was actually coming out of the woods and met these guys. I'd been into my research area, changing my cards out in my cameras and my audio recorders and stuff like that. And these guys was cutting firewood, and it was almost dark, and they was going to get out of the road. And I told them, I said, no, just go ahead. I'm in no hurry. And I just got out and started talking to them, and my truck is all decorated in Bigfoot stuff. And they said, have you seen them around here? And I said, yeah. And they asked me, said, well, have you seen the goat man? They called it a goat man. Mm-hmm. And I said, no. I said, I've not. And about 2 miles from my research area in a straight line is the highest mountain around, the highest peak that we have here in this county. And they was up there, and both of them saw a goat man. Said it had a goat head on it with a man's head, but with goat horns coming out of it, and the body of a goat, but the head of a man with horns on it. And I said, no, I hadn't seen nothing like that. He said, well, you do know what goes on up there, don't you? And I said, no. He said that is one of the biggest places that they do satanic rituals here in this county. And so that, I mean, biblical wise, the goat, is the sign of the devil. So
Right,
and,
was it Baphomet or I forget. Baphomet.
so that I've not seen it yet. I've not got it on camera that I know of. But that is not far from one of my research areas.
Well, now there's multiple reports all over the country of them. You've got stories up north. You've got stories out west. You got them here in the Appalachians of different goat squatches or goat men or whatever, but they're all over the place. I mean, there's tons and tons of them.
I always wonder if there's, not to be too corny, guys, but since we're taking the lid off of things, I wonder about cyclopses. Has there been any recent, even in the last 100 years, any encounters of giant cyclopses or Bigfoot cyclopses?
Yes, they've been some over. Now, see if I can get this right. It's in some of the Asian country. They've reported some.
So that's it. See, there you go again, guys. So we're talking about different types of creatures at different geographical locations. We've touched on the other show, so this is new to my folks at home. But we in India there was a Dogman tribe. So
India and Africa.
And Africa. Cool. I'm looking
But
for your
the big
book.
one was in India. That's what that had 120,000.
Whoa.
And they got basically destroyed and separated out when Alexander the Great did his sweep down through the top of India.
Wow. So these are remnants. Now, I recently heard of a Dogman encounter. I just spent 2 weekends ago with Susan Moore. She is a multiple Dogman eyewitness, and she was talking about one of the Dogmen had human type hands with nails, though, that were, more animalistic. And I think this was the one that crawled on her camper. And it's interesting, even with Dogman, like, George, you distinguish what between, why don't you give the layout of the difference between Dogman and werewolf?
Well, Dogman has, best way I can describe it from what I've read, Dogman has more of a human face, human knees, which is the big part, and has a longer footprint. Werewolves have more of a dog knees, dog legs, and more dog from out throughout their body, and they have a big dog footprint. Where instead of a long one like a dog man, you have a werewolf has a dog print, a big dog print, like what I've got.
Okay. And then we lean towards Robert. Is this what we were saying? We were leaning towards more of the yellow eyes and the blue eyes for Dogmen?
For the most part, that's what I've been hearing tell of, and that over on Scaly Mountain that night, me and you and Tim and your girlfriend was over. That's the first time in the woods that I have ever seen blue eye shine in my life. I've seen green eye shine, which was I was tracking a deer, and a bear was trying to take it away from me. And the only other eye shine I've ever seen, kind of it was off, but it was, something to be explained. It was either a possum or either it was a raccoon or something other along them lines. But when I saw that blue eye shine, I just stopped in my tracks and stood there for just a second studying it. And you could see it bobbing up and down like it was trying to figure out what I was fixing to do, or either just exactly what I was, and probably trying to get a better smell to figure out what it needed to do. And I was like, oops, I don't have my pistol. I could see you guys further on down the trail. I was like, well, this is not good. So that's
Yeah.
the reason why was trying my best to meet up with you guys because I figured bigger the crowd, the less apt it was to do something other on the ignorant side.
Yeah, that was, and for the folks at home, after the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival, Tim took us up, me, Laura, Robert, up to, you said, Scaly Mountain. As soon as we got out of the truck, we heard the howls, Sasquatch howls, from 3 different locations, and we believe that they were letting each other know that we were present.
Mhm.
Yeah,
One
that was
thing,
a. Go
one
ahead.
thing you were talking about, Boom Boom, about the fingers. My buddy Bob Trent has a picture. He was by himself in the woods, and he felt something like something was following him. But every time, you know how it is, every time you try to take a picture, they hide. So he just done like he was doing a selfie, and he aimed it up a little bit, and you can see behind him, you can see a hand coming around and gripping a limb like it's going to pull it to where it can watch him. And it had fingers, but the fingers come down to a point like claws, not like big. The best I understand, Bigfoot's got hands like and fingers like we got,
Yeah.
but this one on the tips come down like claws. And so he was figuring he was getting followed by a dog man.
Man. What are the no, we're getting close to time here. We'll talk about one more thing. So say you're out, you don't really believe in Bigfoot and you're kind of like, all right, these people are nuts, but I'm gonna go out walking. And this is my, what do you call it? My public service PSA, my public service announcement.
There you go.
Look, you don't have to believe us, just be aware. So if somebody's going walking in the woods, and they're gonna see a cryptid, what's the more likely cryptid that they're gonna see, guys?
Bigfoot.
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 Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Seems to Yeah, yeah, it seems like Bigfoot, and then, well, UFOs aren't cryptids, but it's almost like those are the 2 major league players, and then all the minor league players are the dogman. Well, my fairy encounter, and now I'm hearing more and more. You know what I heard recently? And I gotta find that. No, a guy had come across. We talked about the little people before. He came across in the mountains a cemetery of little tombstones or whatever. So somebody give a quick breakdown for people at home about the little people.
Well, the little people, it depends on which one you want to listen to, because some of them believe that they're part elementals, some of them believe that they're just a harbinger, some of them, it's just different beliefs for different ones. But the little people, none of your tribes are going to ever talk about them, because they believe that if you talk about them, they'll show up.
Oh,
And so, I mean, they can be helpful, they can be hindrance, they can be tricksters, but they're little creatures that look like little Indians or little people. They're just small, usually no bigger than 2 feet high, usually thinner body shapes. They've been known to be wearing loincloths. They've been known to be wearing dresses. It just depends on where you follow them at, because every culture all over the world has stories of little people.
Mhm. Um,
yes. Go ahead, Tim.
the when I was trying to figure out what was going on with the encounters, Bigfoot encounters, I went and talked to a lady. I'm not that far from the Cherokee Indian Reservation here in North Carolina, and I went over and talked to her, and I was telling her about limbs getting twisted and stuff like that, and she said, "Oh, that's the little people." And I said, "Ma'am, I'm talking about limbs that's big around." She said, "That ain't the little people." But the funny thing was, a couple of days after that, I run into my mailman that had retired off of my route and was telling him what the woman said about the little people. And he turned white as a ghost. And just the week before, him and his wife had come in from town, and he started to get out of his car. They lived back in the woods a little bit, and started to get out of his car. And when he did, he seen a little man and woman, and the way he talked, like George was talking about, 18, 20 inches tall. And he said he looked, and the man was dressed in a loincloth. It was in the summertime. And said the woman was in an old-timey dress with a bonnet on. And they both turned around and looked at him and started walking towards the woods. And when they got to the edge of the woods, the man kept walking, but the little woman put her hand up over her mouth and giggled, and then turned around and followed him. And if anybody else would have told me that, I'd have took it. Okay, maybe it did or didn't happen, but I know this guy, and he's telling me the truth. He wouldn't lie to me for nothing. I mean, he's got no reason to. I've known him for a long time, and so they're real, whether we ever get to see them or not. And we've also been told that might be what's messing with our trail cameras a lot too.
Yeah.
Not just Bigfoot, but also little people.
Well, we got a face in one of our cameras. We actually got a face, and it moved. One picture is looking right at the other camera. The next picture is looking away, and the next picture is gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's crazy about that? What'd you say, George? Don't mention their name or they might show up?
Yeah, because they can be tricksters. They can be mean.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, there was actually a story over in Cherokee where when they was doing a renovation for the school, they actually dug up by accident. They dug, one of the scoops went in and picked up, and they found little bones, little people bones and tunnels in the ground right there where they renovate the school. Now, you want to see some Cherokee people get mad at you and not talk to you and get away from you? Go to Cherokee and mention little people. They don't like it. They got mad at me. I thought they was going to run me out of Cherokee. If it wasn't for the fact I talked to two of the elders, I probably would have been.
You know what's crazy about that? I don't know if you guys noticed, but I kind of turned the phone off for 4 days, got some time with the woman and family. But one of the things my girl wanted to do, she's a big Harry Potter fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd seen like the first Harry Potter movie and some of the second, but I'd never gotten into it as deep as like her and her daughters had. Well, of course, in the Harry Potter movies, they say, oh, don't mention the name Voldemort because, he might show up or whatever. Well, that's akin to the little people. That's akin to the skinwalkers. So right again,
Into the Bible.
yes, so right again, everyday people like us, we're getting more knowledge about this stuff. But yeah, I don't think any of us everyday people on the street are hiding any of this information. So yeah, how do these movies know it? I always talk about the CIA briefings. We always talk about the CIA briefs Hollywood, and then you get these bits of information, just kind of sprinkled through various movies. Oh man. Hey Jerry, you got anything to say? I just want to make sure I'm not missing you if you had anything you wanted to say.
I do. And you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to pay homage to and honor a great researcher, a great friend of ours who passed away last week. And her name was Robin Moonshadow. Robin was a wealth of knowledge when it came to paranormal, when it came to cryptids. She was incredible in her knowledge. And around here, we had some things happen that I always attributed to young adolescent Sasquatches, and even evidence of Sasquatches who were more very, very small, as in toddler size. We found a string of footprints, very small Bigfoot tracks down the creek. We had a strange symbol kind of made out of grass pressed against the glass of our door that we found one morning. And so everybody talked about that and said, gosh, the footprints was of a little Sasquatch. And that the grass symbol, that was a sign that they were being friendly to you. But Robin who was a wealth of information when it comes to especially American Indian knowledge on cryptids and the paranormal. She said, I think that you have little people in that area because, well, it was mostly Cherokee territory, and Cherokee, being a person with that heritage myself, that's a big part of Cherokee. I don't want to say storytelling in the sense of made up stories. It's actual knowledge that's down. Robin said, I think y'all have got some little people in that area. And she said, often presence of little people who can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Also, you'll also find the hairy forest giant in the same area. So yeah, I definitely believe in little people. It was a thing I remember my great grandfather talking about. He said they would sneak in our house at night and walk around the house trying to stay as close to the wall as possible, check on us while we were sleeping, and then leave. So it's a thing I've heard all my life. But once again, I wanted to honor and pay tribute to Robin, and we're going to miss her a whole lot.
Fantastic. Well, sorry to hear that. Definitely praying for her family, and it's always tough to move on when you lose a loved one. And yeah, it sounds like she had I didn't know her personally, but it sounds like she had a huge impact on our genre of living. But hey, let's go around the horn, guys, and we'll start with you again, Jerry. I want to make sure we shine the light on each of you individually so people can find you on any of your social media platforms or anything like that. So we'll go ahead, start with Jerry Millwood. Go ahead.
When the day is perfect, you can catch me traipsing around the woods with these yahoos. But when I'm not doing that, you can find me on TikTok at J.R. Millwood. You can find me on YouTube at Rebels Dark Tales of Appalachia. Honestly, I forget what my Instagram thing is, but Facebook's Jerry Millwood Jr., and I'm still accepting friends till I hit the limit. Of course, you can find us on the NCI show, Channel 12 TV. And by the way, Robin Moonshadow's YouTube, which will obviously stay up to pay further honor to Robin. It was Robin Moonshadow's Strange Realms.
Awesome. I'm writing that down. Robin Moonshadow's Strange Realms. Awesome. Tim Dills, go ahead.
You can find me at TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all that. Every one of them is Tim Dills 13. You can find me on Facebook. Mine as Tim Dills, and it's the one that's got the Bigfoot track. And if you need to email me or anything like that, you can email me at timdills13@yahoo.com. And I'm trying to find Jerry's thing so I could tell him what it was on the Instagram, and I can't even find it on my phone. I got it somewhere, but
thanks for trying. All right, Robert Glenn Effler, go ahead.
You can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on TikTok at North Carolina Investigates. You can find me on Instagram at nci.rob. You need to get a hold of me by email. It's nci.rge@gmail.com. And on each and every week, you can find me and these guys on the wonderful Channel 12 TV network. And any other time, there's no telling which set of woods, which area that you liable to find each and every one of us in. We get a story, we get a hot investigation on evidence. We're off like a herd of turtles.
That's right. That's right. George, before I say anything more, George Lunsford, go ahead.
Well, first on Jerry, it's Millwood Jr. Jerry.
Oh, thank you.
I got you, brother. I got you back. Me, you can find me about everywhere. Any of the social media, look up either George Lunsford or author George Lunsford. You can go to my website, which is authorgeorgelunsford.x10host.com. You can go to Amazon and find me, or you can just type in George Lunsford into Google, and there'll be more crap pop up than you'll ever see. So, however you want to find me, just find me. Send me your information about any kind of reports you have for Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, it don't matter. Send them to us. We'll investigate them. We'll let you know what's going on. And if you're having problems, we'll do our best to fix it for you.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, everybody at home, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. This team here, the North Carolina Investigates team, I tell you, we could talk for hours. There's so much information, and if we don't know anything about it, we're going to find out about it. And yeah, I can't say enough about these guys. So, to everyone at home, thanks for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next time.